Swizzy, I'm back with another video really quick, you guys. I just wanted to come up here and, you know, give my opinion of Kevin Hart's roast. All right. Because you got everybody jumping on the hottest topic, basically, because there was a lot of, you know, they didn't want to say it was like, man, that was below the belt. You know what I'm saying? That was, it was supposed to be a joke. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what's off limits at comedy shows. I'm gonna be honest with you guys because, you know, um, comedians, even some of the greatest comedians, literally, right? Man, they, these these guys, this guy here, what I'm saying? He's going crazy. See, and Cheryl Underwood, and she's a comedian. They're all comedians, right? Everybody that was there, they're all comedians. Um, and I'm gonna say something about the because I personally I feel like this, right? If you go to a comedy show, don't sit in the front row, man. They ain't gotta know you. They don't gotta know nothing about you. They know Cheryl Underwood's husband had took his own life, right? They knew that, and they didn't hold back. And I'm looking at. I have to look at it because I don't want to feed into this whole. Somebody cooking this whole pot, try to stir up, divide. You know what I'm saying? People are always calling one another all kind of names. You be like, if you use this word, if you use the N word, or you use that word, or you use this word, um, you're gonna offend somebody. All right, you're gonna offend people. People will take offense. There's people that come into my comments and they, you know, spell these words, and I don't take offense. I don't take offense. I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that much like comedians, like people are out there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've been in the front row at comedy shows and got roasted myself. And I was there to enjoy the night. And it was on me like white on rice. I was like, oh shit. They didn't hold back. I was like, I started sweating in there and everything. Like, I didn't come here for this. You know what I'm saying? Uh that's the truth. Comedians don't care. Dave Chappelle, all of these people, man. There was this other dude. He roasted this white lady, man, because she got mad, got up and left. I felt that way at a comedy show because I didn't feel like they were because it was a funny. They were clowning me. They clowned me so damn much, And then there was, they jumped on. It was what was it? I forget what was it called. It was in Elm. It was Elm City because they used to have in New Haven. They used to have Elm City night. I forget what it's called. And we used to go to those comedy shows, like, saying me and my old lady used to go down there. And when they had comedies come in town, shout out to Toad's Place in New Haven. If you know about Toad's Place, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't at Toad's, but they had so much talent that used to come through there, come to New Haven downtown to perform at Yale, at the university, or for the, for the students and stuff. And it was right downtown, you know what I'm saying? And there was a comedy club that I remember going there, and I had one of them big brim hats on and stuff one night. And then there was another guy that was in there. He was in there, back in the days, we dressed with the big hats and stuff on. It's real popular now, but I was before my time. You know what I'm saying? So I used to always come out and be with the big hats and stuff. And they cut on me that night, boy. They gave it to me. And it was like, yeah, yeah. I don't even remember what they were saying, man. I do remember, but it was funny. It was funny. But the type of humor that, a lot of these comedians, you know, so I do think there was a couple of things that probably were, should have been off limits, but that's comedy. That's, and then like you said, oh well, that's so and so. I don't expect anything more. I don't expect anything less. Because some people, they don't care. They do not care. They're gonna talk about your people that ain't here no more. They're gonna lie, just and for a lot of people, it was, it rubbed them the wrong way. It rubbed them the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, you know, I can understand how the culture, how to, what I'm saying, how the black culture, a lot of people could take offense to some things, especially being, you know, the N word thrown around by, by a white person. But, you know, it's used so much every single day, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not making excuses for it, like, oh, well, they could just get up there and call these women B, call them out their name and everything. I'm not saying that, because I said there's some things that are out of they, was kind of out of, you know, it was just disrespectful. But what comedian that won't get on him? I just watched another dude earlier. I was watching some comedy. Even Dave Chappelle, all of these guys, Richard Pryor, some of the greats, Richard Pryor. Yes, they'll call you. You in the crowd and they want to talk junk to you. They want, yeah, you every name, but the child of God. And if they can get a laugh from the audience, they're going to use it. They're going to run with it. So I think that, it's kind of being stirred now. Shout out to Kevin Hart, you know what I'm saying, for being, you know, the successful comedian that he is. Like, these guys' careers didn't even jump off the way they did. They had to, you know what I'm saying, they had to kind of pretty much, make their way through. And you know, will I have did because him and Cat, they got their beef behind, you got the part, I didn't get the part. That's like if I was an actor or if I was a comedian and I was trying to come up there with my talents and my gifts, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't want to, take a part because, it went against what I felt was appropriate for who I am. But then you come along and you take it, everybody don't have the same it's like an acquired taste. You know what I'm saying? And it's like he said, like, some of those guys that got up there and made their jokes, you know, I mean, what do you expect from this dude, man? He's like that. That's the type of comedy that he's gonna throw. Like, if like, I get that. I get that. I get that, bro. I really do. That's like a graffiti artist. Art is art. Okay. You got some artists that will come to a graffiti, you know what I'm saying, like a battle, even a dance, a break. Some people's styles different from other people's styles. So you just gotta respect their style. You know what I'm saying? You might not like it, but they're on stage, basically. Right. And so I understand that because talent, everybody, you know, everybody got different talents. Everybody's talent is different, and that's just me. I want to look at this. I really want to look at this and not, let it divide us. But so many people are letting it, and I think that's kind of the cooking it up because we already got that going on out here. We got a lot of in the air, a lot of tension that has to do with division. You know what I'm saying? Um, hey, how you doing? Um, X me. I can't pronounce that, but I do appreciate you for joining. All you guys, man. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? So, you know, and I'm not over here trying to defend Kevin Hart, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not over here trying to condemn him and say, "Oh, you dead wrong for that," because like he said, then I saw something. I watched another video said, Kev said, "Remove me from it. I didn't say the jokes." Yeah, but you had something to do with it. You knew what jokes they were gonna say. So a lot of people took a lot of offense to like a lot of things that were said, right? Go to a comedy show, man. When the last time you been to a comedy show? And whoever is in the crowd that get roasted, if they get offended, you'll leave and go home that night. And you don't care about how that person felt or feels. They could make a lot of jokes about them. They could talk about everybody in their family. And it's supposed to just be funny because the joke's on you, Jack. You know what I'm saying? It's not on me. So a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you for subscribing. Thank you. That helped the algorithm, man. And plus, I got somebody that be subscribing. There's one person. All my numbers stay the same. Like it's crazy. One person. They watch my videos, and they've been around forever since I had 10 subscribers, right? And then it'll go down to 9, and then more people subscribe. I get to 100, or maybe there's just one. Every time you turn around, one person just drops off the bandwagon. I don't know. But thank you for subscribing to the channel, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, but what I was just really trying to say, like when you you know, sometime when you in a comedy club, you gotta just Cheryl knew she was gonna be under attack. And then from what I heard, they called her and said, "Hey, we're gonna make jokes about your deceased husband." It's all that you put. Well, unfortunately, you're just coming in here. But on my live streams, may not get big numbers, but there's times when there's 100 people in here, so I'm not worried about that. The main thing is I gotta say what I'm saying without being distracted, because of a count. The count don't count. What counts is that I give you what I got to give you. That's just like a comedian. It don't matter how many people laugh. Sometimes it's just all about, the talent or the joke or maybe just roasting that one person in the audience. You know what I'm saying? Comedians usually come in and they come in like Dave Chappelle and them. They already got their jokes made. You know what I'm saying? They already know what they're gonna talk about. But then they find that one person in the crowd that just happens to be sitting in the front row, right? That one person that they just, they focus on. Then they might ask, "Hey, where you from?" Yeah. Oh, and then it go from there. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you get these type of people that are in the audience that, they come, you don't want to, try to go stand up and go toe to toe with no. You ever been to the Apollo? You ever been to the Apollo Theater? Sandman will come out there and run you right off the stage, right? If you ain't giving it to the people like you should, but you up there and you got to perform. You have to, okay? Otherwise, so they're gonna run you and laugh you off the stage. You know what I'm saying? And so we know what comedy is about. You know what I'm saying? This is that's like we our people. I don't know if I'm trying to make our people, but our comedians, going back to Richard Pryor, even who's a funny dude, man? Damn, what was that guy's name, man? Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney was a beast. Rodney was a beast. You remember him? Do you even know who Rodney Dangerfield is? One of a kind, one of the greats. One of the greats. Yes. I remember one of his jokes. I used to watch this. This was when comedy was like, it was rated R. Richard Pryor had an album that was in red. It was in red. It was a red album. I mean, I'm telling my age now. You know what I'm saying? So Richard Pryor, and he was one of the greats before Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? Like I can start naming Carol Burnett and all these people. And they did racial jokes back then. They did racial jokes back then. It didn't divide the people. That's why I'm saying you can't let this divide you. Because see, I know everybody's on edge right now. You know what I'm saying? Um, because of, you know, you got MAGA. Um, what's the builder guy name? The guy that, a lot of these they're bigots. These are racist pieces of shit running around here trying to incite this stuff in society. He in jail right now. Forget the man's name. Anyway, but back in the days, right? Never. I don't understand why it's okay for. And I'm not saying it's because I don't want to say don't take this the wrong way. All right, because we shouldn't be out here trying to degrade each other. You know, but you know, Cheryl Underwood. You ever listen to some of her jokes? The type of stuff she talk about. Like, so when you get into the comedy setting, what's off limits? Oh, you use the N word. Are we that sensitive now? They've been using that forever, comedians. I don't care what color you are. Now, I don't know if Rodney Dangerfield used to do that. I don't think that was pretty much his thing. What was the other guy's name? Uh, he used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. And the something man. I forget his name, man. Oh man, you got to go back in history and see some because these new comedians now and stuff like that, like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and what's the other guy name? I don't really know these guys because I mean, well, Cat Williams and there's a lot of them. There's the newer guys and stuff. Rest in peace to some of the legends, Bernie Mac and them, and stuff like that. But I just say this about a comedy show, especially when you have you know like you come into a comedy show, everybody got different type of content, man. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to kind of you want to have it all because you want everybody to laugh. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to offend. People going to get offended at a comedy show. I didn't get to, but when they start capping on you, calling you, you know, when they start doing that to you, who's going to stop them? You want to jump up on the stage and stop the comedian? No, you're not. All you're going to do is sit in the crowd and go, ooh, you know what I'm saying? You're going to laugh. But now, after the fact, they calling you. And somebody got on the phone, called up the ancestors, and it was like, we ain't going for that. So, like right now, and with everything that MAGA is doing, and you got Judd the Builder, and you got all these people that are running around out here, kind of stirring the pot. It's like, yeah, we want some smoke, but they don't want the smoke, right? And this is in real life. Look at what just happened. You know, um, acts of violence are following these people they're premeditating this stuff. And so I get it where people are like, all right, enough is enough, we're not using that word, and you can't use that word, and you're drawing a line in this thing. But we had a comedy show. You had a comedy show. Netflix, I don't know. I don't know that I, I don't know that they projected this much of a backlash from, the black community. I don't know that they projected that. I feel like they were probably, you know, knew it would ruffle some feathers, but then again, when people start making jokes, it's okay for you to make a joke, and talk about, you know, it's one white person in a room full of black people, they're gonna roast you. Make a political joke, and you're on the wrong side because everybody in the room is blue. They're gonna roast you, regardless of what color you are. Please don't be a everybody in the room is blue, and you black, and you stand in support of the red. They're gonna roast you. You know what I'm saying? And it never ceases to amaze me how people, you know, they really, really, really let, what is supposed to be a fun night. Oh, it's fun to call people this and that, and then they think make some things are off limits, but the George Floyd thing, yeah, I could say because that is something that has so many people riled up. You know what I'm saying? To see, and I know, I get it. He screamed and cried for his mother, and you know, he was on television. It was all behind a fake $20 bill, right? I get it. I know people was uptight and we were ready to tear his mother down after having to see what happened to him, and then even to make matters worse. Um, I don't know that they were acquitted or did they serve time. I don't remember. I had a recent head injury, so my memory. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I don't remember. I mean, somebody needs to let me know what happened with that. You know what I'm saying? I done moved on. Like they said, move on. If you didn't like the joke, move on past it. But I still stand with the family. You know what I'm saying? That justice for George. You know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, I don't know did they have the kind of trial or did these people get acquitted? If they did, that's dead wrong. That's how I feel. You know. And so, like I said, it was very sensitive. It was very sensitive for so many people. You know what I'm saying? And then for the joke to be thrown out there, wow, a lot of people still, going through it, right? We still going through it. Black people is constantly going through it. You don't get a break. You constantly getting roasted out here. High cost of everything. Then you got a political party over here that looks like they're just pushing more and more of the racist agenda and stuff. You could say, oh, well, they're moving to try to redistrict and cancel out your votes and stuff like that. So black people, we've been struggling and going through it for the longest. We've been being roasted as long as we've been, you know, um, in this country, right? And a lot of us have been able to um, uh, turn the tables around, right? And the tide has turned for a lot of us, but for so many of us, it's still caught up in the roast, generational roast. All right, there's been generational roast going on still. Like he's still in the roast. Yeah, still there. It ain't helping no more. It ain't helping them. It ain't helping the ones that have to still deal with a lot of this injustice and stuff like that. Uh, with this type of um, stuff happening and just it's very hard to kind of you know feel like you're getting ahead when it's like everything is just set up to keep you right where you at. And then, it doesn't help anymore when you see these people that you might hold in some high esteem. Now, I'm not saying everybody holds Kevin Hart in high esteem. Not saying that everybody holds, what's her name? Now I'm losing my daggone my mind. Right. Angela, man, what the figure's her name again? I forget. But anyway, it, you know, is it Angela Bassett? Now I'm thinking, I don't lost my damn mind. Right. So not saying that seeing that happen to her, because for black women, for our women, you know what I'm saying. Um, to be, you want to hold them in high esteem as being queens. So, to have somebody come up there and be calling all kind of black B and this and that and everything, and make jokes about your husband, and he killed himself, and oh man, yeah, I'm gonna tell you, man. Cheryl, I say Angela Bassett, Cheryl Underwood, but Cheryl's a comedian herself. This is the thing that I guess they're all these people. They're all comedians. They all know. Let me tell you, if it wasn't on, let me tell you, if it wasn't on Netflix and it was all at somebody's party in Beverly Hills and they was sitting around cutting and joking and stuff like that, you would hear ooh, and be laughing, cracking up, and they'll leave and be like, man, sounds so crazy. I ain't worried about that. But you got the rest of the world watching. That's that's the thing there, because for a lot of us, that still feel like we in the roast of life, to swallow the pill of some of those jokes, couldn't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. See, a lot of them, they comfortable. They're comfortable. They're in a place where financially they're not too worried about somebody joking with them, with the what might seem to be the worst case, George Floyd and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they go home after jokes and stuff like that, amongst themselves. And they don't take that stuff serious. But for us, man, there's a nerve. They struck to it. You know what I'm saying? You got too many people worked up behind this one now. You know what I'm saying? Now that's stirring that pot. And I think that, I don't know that Netflix expected, I don't know what their expectations were, what I'm saying, leading up to this. But I know that the backlash, man, you got Dr. Umar talking about the NAACP, the Black Caucus. Everybody need to write a letter to Netflix to tell them, next time y'all do so, we want a public apology. We're gonna shut this thing down. That's like a real rebuttal to comedy. That's a real rebuttal to some jokes. Now, nobody's supposed to take none of this stuff serious, but it's just the offense that people take. That's why a lot of times when people be getting and talking and clapping, your mama, boy, people ready to fight. Your mama, your mama. And then some people will say it quick, your mama. And when they say it like that, they say it with a smile on your face, like, yeah, your mama. What you gonna do? See? Don't nobody want you talking about that, especially if the mother dead. So I get it. But a lot of times it's in a rebuttal, in a comedy type of, you know what I'm saying? Thing, like, so, a lot was exposed, and, not that this was how people actually really felt. Who wrote these jokes? They said somebody wrote them. These guys just were saying them, you know? But how about your mama? See, when somebody say that strikes a nerve. Don't talk about my mother. She dead. Oh yeah, your mama. Let's say it again. just to get at you, just to touch a nerve, right? Come on, man. We gotta be bigger than that. Sticks and stones will break your bones, but words ain't gonna never hurt you. And we gotta get past a lot of this stuff. We have to get past this. We don't need to really, you know what I'm saying, let this be something, and even in public, a lot of times, like, what, I see a lot of stuff on the internet right now. I'm gonna end this. I keep it to about 30 minutes. We're gonna crash. You can't call me that in public. You ain't gonna disrespect me. I ain't going for this. We shouldn't have to deal with it. But you know what? Ignorance is at an all-time high, and it's contagious. All right. It's very contagious. Ignorance is at an all-time high. It's very contagious. You got one of the most ignorant presidents in the whole United States history in office, and a lot of his ignoramus. You know what I'm saying? They taking the bait. They taking the bait. They're baiting a lot of people, man. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be better than that. We gotta be more educated than that. We gotta be more laid back and reserved and more strategic than that. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it, man. And like I said, man, don't go to the comedy club and catch feelings. Don't watch comedy and catch feelings, man. You know what I'm saying? Like most of these guys, they're just comedians, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that stuff ain't funny, but the media will spin it a different way. Netflix, maybe they trying to spin it a different way. Or everybody that's covering it, everybody obviously, I'm trying to spin it a different way right now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, how you doing, Ma? I'm trying to spin it in a different way that it don't gotta be so much racial tension out here behind that roast. You know what I'm saying? And for those people that want to run around here that are bigots, that are racist, that are just out to try to, cause and stir up division, guess what? Miss me with that bullshit, man. You know what I mean? Please. What do you think about what's that? Luna's Graham? I'm probably gonna need to go research it because this is the first time I really heard of it. If you got a little more information, please um, give me a little bit more to go on with that. But that's just me, my personal humble opinion, man. You know, what don't kill you gonna make you stronger. And a lot of these cats is running around and they quick to bump their gums, and we're seeing all over social media what it's getting. You know what I'm saying? It get laid out. You know, no, you're not a threat. Words you could. I mean, I felt threatened. Why? Because he called you a name. Right there, you could call me anything. You know what I'm saying? You could fix your lips to say. If I knock them lips off your face, you know what I'm saying? Now who's the threat? You know? Shuff, what's going on, brother? Peace and blessings, man. Good to see you up in here. Oh, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham. That sounds familiar, man. Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham. Who the heck is that? I know the name. It sounds familiar. How do I feel about Lindsey Graham? What do you think about Lindsey Graham? Peace, peace, y'all. Lindsey Graham. I'm drawing a blank, man. I got a fog right here. That name sounds so familiar, but it's not ringing a bell. And shame on me for that. I'm not a historian. I can remember stuff, but you know, there's some things I don't remember. It's a little gnat flying around. American politician. Okay. Uh, I probably need a little more than that, but Lindsey Graham. Yeah, okay. Somebody talking. Okay. I see. I don't. Lindsey Graham ain't doing nothing but talking shit. I don't pay no attention to that shit, man. All right, I'm gonna do it right now while we're here. Let me see, because then that'll help me. Then I can give you a response. There it is. Oh, okay. So that's is that the Texas guy? I know I've seen the face. Lindsey Graham is I think that's he's on. I see he's on the Hannity show. Is he? Is he? Is he a senator? See, I don't give no energy to people like that. But we got to be aware. We got. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, state senate. Oh, South Carolina. Oh, yeah, that's right. He is from South Carolina. You damn right. I'm in North Carolina. Lindsey Graham has earned a reputation as a conservative leader. You know what? I don't like to judge nobody by their looks, but looking at him, he looks like somebody that's has don't got a spine, don't stand up for right. I call people like that jellyfish. From his looks, he looks like a jellyfish. You know what I'm saying? But I'll do a little research on him. I've seen his face before. Probably didn't get too much of my attention because I don't sit and listen to people like that for long. You know, yeah, but like I said, he's probably one of them spineless jellyfishes. But they say he's gay. They say he's gay. That's why I'm reading stuff right now. But yeah, that's my take on it, man. So Kevin, like, by getting back to Kevin Hart, because like I said, man, comedy is kind of hard, man. Because now, you know, I want to say, and what Cat Williams said about Kevin Hart, um, that's their personal beef. I have no, you don't like them. Hey, man, everybody's entitled to their own opinion about things. That's why I'm up here making my own opinion about that Kevin Hart roast. And like with Cat Williams, I know Cat's real, man. You know, um, Kevin, I know Kevin gonna sell out for the money, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that about Kev, man. Kev done played some roles in Hollywood that other people, especially Cat Williams, have turned down. And then Kevin done went back and got him for the money. And you know, he's done some things that are you guys. That was my boy Tommy Fat Check. He just hit me up. He was talking to me. But yeah, so these comedians, man, they all take a different stance. You know what I'm saying? Because they all have different um they got their different opinions and views on things. Some things are funny to some people don't find things funny. You know what I'm saying? And when you sitting at a table with certain people and you want to make them laugh and all that stuff, you might just go ahead and um, you know, you might make a joke about something that they want to hear. I got a joke for you guys too. I'm gonna make a joke for you guys too. This is an old joke. I'm not no comedian though, but I got a joke for you guys. Right? I told this joke before, but I'm gonna tell it to you tonight on the live. All right. But everybody don't think that the comedy and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, is they got different opinions. So, like you got Dave Chappelle. I mean, what's off limits to some of these people? I know that man, look, man. Like I said, back in the days, you had Rodney Dangerfield, Richard Pryor. Um, those comedians back then, they were trying to make their careers, or their acting careers, or they were trying to get into the movies and stuff like that. Jim Belushi. What was the other guy, man? I forget his name, man. And but back then, it was a totally different atmosphere out here. A totally different audience. The people back then, the audience back then. You know, um, imagine somebody making. Imagine that's like Richard Pryor making jokes, right? And you got the Black Panthers and stuff outside. Like real deep. You know what I'm saying? Um, or Rodney Dangerfield actually, because they were around. They were comedians back then. Jim Belushi and stuff like that, right? Um, you know, who's another one? Who's another one? I'm not gonna say Carol Burnett, but a lot of them people back then, they made their jokes. Eddie Murphy, you know, when he came on the scene and stuff, but that was after. It was probably a little, you going back a little too far. Um, Imagine them making jokes. They weren't gonna make no jokes about no black people, and and you had you had those Panthers and stuff like that out there, right? They was not doing that. A lot of back in the days too. A lot of the jokes were more. Um, I think a lot of the jokes were more towards um, everybody in Hollywood and all that stuff back then. They were all they had the drug they had to get right on, and they were getting right. They were doing their things right. They were indulging in the illegal illicit use of you know with drugs, drug use, abuse, a lot of them, right? So, um, and then much like the Diddy parties back then, there was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. You know what I'm saying? And this time, like, you've seen all of these performers would get together. You can't tell me that Richard Pryor did not come out and make all kind of jokes that were racial jokes because he did. Because he did, right? And then you would have what was the freaking guy's name, man? I can't remember his name, but like much like what when Kevin Hart went on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God in them, and he was trying to defend, or let's say he was trying to defend, the comedians that made the jokes about, and I forget the guy's name, because that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like these comedians. To me, I don't know them. I heard it and I watched it, and their names don't ring a bell. They're not that big in my opinion. This guy here he is. See, these people, they I don't know them. I don't know them. I don't know them. I'm not real a big heavy fan of the comedy scene like that. I know certain people because they got big names. This guy, I don't know that guy that made that joke. I don't know who he is. You know. Oh, okay, it's Tony Hinchcliffe. That was his name. I get that. I get that. Okay, so with that being said, um, Tony Hinchcliffe, that's his name. I ain't never heard of or seen this dude. He ain't that big of a comedian. So, they're like, oh, you don't know comedy. Well, Tommy Fat Check is in the house. What's good, Tommy? Tommy, my boy Tommy Fat Check, everybody's here. And he's the guy with all the money. Tommy is rolling like the rolling 60s or Sixers or whatever. Right? I tell you, he just called me. I told him join the live. But listen, Dave, I mean, this guy, I don't know who he is, but some of the jokes that he made about Cheryl Underwood and that roast and stuff like that. Okay, you know, everybody said, "Oh, he went over the top," and then they were calling him all kind of names, you know. And I know Tommy probably like, man, you don't, Tom. I know you probably like, man, listen. I don't know. I don't even know. Everybody's got their own opinion. So your opinion could be, you know, you don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Cheryl Underwood, she a black woman, you know what I'm saying? Did she deserve to be, up there and degraded and talked about, and her ex-husband, and what happened to him, and how he committed suicide and all this other stuff, is that off limits? But like I said, when people is going back and forth talking junk, your mother, your mom, right? And they know that's going to strike a nerve, right? And you don't talk about my mother, my mama, dad, and then they be like, oh yeah, your mama and your daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares at that point. Like when you going at somebody, you trying to roast them or something. So when they made the jokes about George Floyd, that was kind of dead wrong. Some people felt like, I mean, did they see that as comedy? Only the white folks probably saw that as comedy because it was a white man that killed them and all this other. You know, I don't think that was comedy. I think that was a little disrespectful to the whole black race in general. I do. I feel like that was, like a smack in the face because there was more to that because that sparked something in black people as a whole, right? Um, all behind a fake $20 bill, like I said earlier. And so it was unneeded, uncalled for. You know, was there justice for the family? And then but and then people like, well, and even Dave. I mean, not Dave. Even Kevin Hart. You went to the people's funeral, to the man's funeral, and at the time there was all this remorse, but then there's this joke, and it kind of stirred the pot, man. That's what I'm saying. That stirred the pot. You got a lot of people got kind of rubbed the wrong way behind this, and now in the time that we live in, while we already have this so-called uh, 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 MAGA mindset with a lot of these politicians or the politics, and they're trying to redistrict everything and take away the votes for black people. Where are we going with all of this? I said he's a sellout. I said that, Tommy. I do. I said he's a sellout. I said, he's gonna do whatever for money. Respect to him for being a comedian because, and getting to where he done, over the years, been able to get to. But there comes a point when and I get it where people are like, yo, man, hold up, man. It shouldn't have been disrespectful like that to the women up there on that stage. If it's your platform, you should have said something. And I get it. Like they said, they got Dr. Umar and all these other people saying, they want to protest no Netflix and all this other stuff. Whereas, you know, so who comes under fire now? Is it Netflix or is it Kevin Hart? Right? Or is just black folks just mad at everybody right now? It's like they just said, oh, everybody black, your mama, your mama. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, you ain't even talk about my mama. You know what I'm saying? So everybody black is mad. They're mad. Like somebody talked about their mother right now. And Cheryl Underwood ain't my mama. You know what I'm saying? And her husband that took his life, he ain't my daddy. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really be mad, too mad, but it was kind of disrespectful to her. But you know how it is when you go to a comedy show. Everybody gonna laugh at whoever getting cracked on. And they leave that night and ain't gonna have no hard feelings, but that person gonna still be feeling some kind of way. I know I was one of them. I've been cracked on. You know what I'm saying? They roasted me at a comedy show, man. I wish I didn't sit my ass in the front. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it. I mean, literally, it was comedy, but it did get out of hand. It got out of hand. So um, you know, I'm gonna give a pass. I'm gonna give a pass to them. I'm gonna give a pass. You know what I'm saying? They got to do better. We got to do better. Like, when we certain things need to be kind of off limits because we're sensitive people. We are a sensitive people. We are an emotional people. You know what I'm saying? Not that we all bitched up or nothing. Excuse my French and all that, but we still like we got people that have made it, but for the majority of us we haven't. So there's that big gap, and people feeling some kind of way. People feeling some kind of way. There's a big wealth gap, but for these a lot of these comedians and people that are putting our integrity on the line because of money, I don't feel that that's right. That's where I'm gonna leave it. You know what I'm saying? And like Cat Williams said, yeah, he's a plant. He's a plant, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think they should have did all of that. They should have kind of had the roast, but some things should have been off limits. That's just my humble opinion. But and that's because so many people got offended by it. And I'm not out to offend my people. I'm not out to offend nobody. But a roast is a roast. Sometimes you know what? Your mama. And you can take it how you want, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Your mama and your daddy. You feel me? And people gonna be bad, but what you gonna do? And that's how them comedians come at you. So don't sit in the front row. I'm telling you, because I went through it. It was nothing I could do but laugh. So, hey, I'm your boy Swizzy. Like, subscribe, share this video. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you feel about it, man. I'm out. Peace.